In this video, I'm going to introduce the concepts of software design patterns. The need for software design patterns is quite evident when you ask people to design reusable software, which is not an easy thing to do. Novices can often feel overwhelmed, and experts draw from their personal experience. Software design patterns can be used by novices and experts alike to draw upon the experience of other experts. We often find problems that recur in all kinds of settings in computing. The solution to those recurring problems is often similar, if not the same, in each of the contexts. Although often we might find that we need to make minor adaptations in different contexts just to make it perfect for the application that we're working on at the time. Design patterns actually come from the work of Christopher Alexander, who was a building architect in the 1970s. His idea was to improve the quality of buildings by using proven patterns of good architectural design. And so he developed these patterns. Here are a few. And you'll notice that as well as having a description, in this case a diagram, of a solution to a particular problem, the pattern is given a name. And we can refer to that pattern by its name and know what is meant. Now, this concept was rediscovered in the 1980s and repurposed from building architecture to software applications. They identified a lot of problems that recur in computing and proposed solutions for those problems. In a seminal work on the subject, Gamma et al., back in 1995, described software design patterns as descriptions of communicating objects and classes that are customized to solve a general design problem in a particular context. This summarizes very nicely the situation of having problems that recur in many situations, many contexts, that have a general solution which is then customized to a particular application. So a design pattern consists of these four concepts. First of all, a name. That's very important because it allows us to add it into our lexicon and communicate with other designers and programmers without having to go into low-level detail. There is also a description of the problem that the pattern addresses, a description of the solution to the problem, and also an indication of the consequences of using that solution. And just to emphasize again, this is a generalized description of a general problem with a general solution, but that pattern must then be customized to meet the specific requirements of the problem that we are addressing in our application. Now, these design patterns have been used for years and have been based on so many years of tried and tested industrial experience and good practice. And that means that these are successful solutions to well-known problems. And it leads to successful designs that are easier to reuse. It will provide guidance on the choice of alternative designs. The design patterns are ways to improve the readability, maintainability, and extensibility of our applications. And as I mentioned earlier, it gives us a lexicon for design that will aid communication in the design and development process. Now, design patterns, having been around since the 1980s, find themselves manifested in all kinds of places. Code libraries use design patterns in all kinds of ways, and it's true for frameworks as well. For example, the Spring Boot framework will use the singleton pattern. It has a factory method pattern. It has a template method pattern, and so on. Lots and lots of patterns. And once you become familiar with these patterns, you'll start to see them appearing in all kinds of places. And of course, you'll start to use them in your own applications. In this module, we have already used some design patterns. Even though I might not have called them design patterns, that is what we were using. In Learning Block 2, for example, we started to use data transfer objects to carry data between processes. In Learning Block 4, we introduced a factory method, which is used to create an object without exposing to other classes the code for creating that object. We also introduced the repository pattern and dependency injection. And then in Learning Block 5, we introduced the entity pattern. So here already are 5 design patterns that we have been using on this module. I would recommend that you do some additional reading. Certainly look around at the descriptions that are given of software design patterns, and also you might find a discussion about anti-patterns interesting to read, just so that you can see that not all design patterns are actually very useful. And in the next video, we're going to look at another design pattern that we could use in our applications.